Well, hundreds of thousands of properties are without power, and there are multiple warnings in place as Tropical Cyclone Alfred is about to make landfall on the mainland within hours. The Bureau of Meteorology has downgraded the cyclone to a Category 1 system, although it's still packing a punch, with intense rainfall bringing life-threatening flooding.
The warning zone stretches from Noosa down to Ballina, taking in Brisbane, the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast and Byron Bay. And we've already seen some damage to buildings, while further south the search will resume for the driver of a vehicle who was washed off a bridge in floodwaters near Dorrigo, west of Coffs Harbour, as communities across 2 states brace for what's to come. Let's go to one of our reporters on the ground, and that's Cyan Valence on the Gold Coast, where it was a very rough night indeed. Cyan, we're hearing a lot of people lost a lot of sleep last night. How's it looking there?
Well, it is still incredibly windy and the rain has been coming down in sheets. You know, when it's so strong and it's so heavy, it comes in horizontally. That's what a lot of people couldn't sleep through overnight, and that's having a major impact. There are 2 emergency warnings for flooding in the Gold Coast area. That is Tallybudgera and Currumbin. In Tallybudgera, the creek has risen there to almost 3 metres, and 3.2 metres is considered to be sort of major flooding. So people there are being warned it is too dangerous to leave. Roads and evacuation routes have closed. So anyone who is in that area is being told to get somewhere high, away from the floodwaters, and stay indoors. Of course, for the rest of the Gold Coast area, there is also an emergency warning to not leave, to not go outside. We have seen people over the past couple of days getting curious and going to see what the impact is. Now that there is this emergency warning in place, Gold Coasters are being told they cannot leave their homes or wherever it is that they are staying. 120,000 people along the Gold Coast have lost power, and we're hearing that there have been rainfall totals around 200 millimetres in some parts, and of course the area has recorded wind gusts of around 100 kilometres an hour. We're told that's just going to keep picking up as the morning goes on.
And it looks like locals are just going to be bracing for this weather for days now, Cyan. How are people coping? Have you heard anything from the hundreds and thousands of people affected by this system on the Gold Coast?
Yeah, well, we're getting a lot of people calling the local emergency broadcaster ABC Gold Coast, and many of them have shared that they just couldn't sleep last night, as you said, that they're either anxious or it is that wind and rain that's kept them awake. And a few people have shared their confusion, just saying, you know, I thought the wind was coming from this direction and then it shifted and it was coming from that direction. But that's what we've been warned about over coming days, that this cyclone is unpredictable. It is erratic. You know, it might be coming from one way one moment and then the next second it shifts. And that's why it's so important not to leave your home. Now, we have other people who have stayed up overnight just because they say they want to see what happens, obviously safely and from indoors. One woman shared that her parents had often told her about enduring the 1974 cyclone, and now she feels she's living something similar. So for her, it's quite a surreal experience. But on the whole, people are anxious, sort of doing what they've been told to do. And this is what people have prepared for. This now is the lockdown, and this is what people are sort of watching and waiting to see what happens next.
All right, thanks very much, Cyan.
Okay, let's go to New South Wales now and join reporter Digby Worthmuller. Digby, you're in Coffs Harbour. What's the latest where you are at the moment?
Well, despite the current conditions right now, it's been a relatively quiet night yet again here in Coffs Harbour, and I guess the rainfall is really going to be the story today and the focus as we head over the next 24 hours. A little further south of Coffs Harbour in Dallinger, the Dallinger Park Holiday Park, that was evacuated late last night as those rising river levels started to come up, and there's some inland communities that are also experiencing some light flooding, as well as bridges being inundated with water and becoming impassable. That's the Glenree area, as well as the Orara River. Those rivers have certainly come up. Last night, the Orara River was sitting at just over 6 metres, and that's expected to get up to over 9 metres later today. as that rain starts to come down a little bit heavier today, now that the cyclone Alfred is starting to hit that coastline in the next sort of hour, really. So it's certainly something to keep a watch on with the Hazards Near Me app. Emma.
Digby, what about the update on that missing person in Dorrigo? Is there any update at all?
Yeah, so that Dorrigo man, he was in his car when his car got swept by floodwaters, and he climbed out and grabbed onto a tree, and then that was then picked up and taken away. And I phoned the New South Wales Police this morning, and they said that they have no update on that missing person, so we'll certainly be checking in with them as the day goes on. I also had a brief conversation on the phone with the State Emergency Service, and they gave me an update as to the latest figures on the incidents that they've responded to overnight. 1,500 call-outs overnight is what they have responded to. And they also confirmed that 38,000 people are currently still without power, but they do note that it's tricky to really give an exact estimate on that power outage number because power is coming and going for many people in different places. We've got ABC News crews further north from where I am that have experienced power outages, and then within a couple of hours they've had power turned back on. So it's really hard to gauge the exact number, but as of last night, 38,000 residents are still without power. Heading into today, that rainfall is certainly going to bring with it some high winds as well. So it's a watch and wait and see here in Coffs Harbour like it has been for the last few days.